Hi, thank you for stopping by my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I set up for coloring in this particular coloring book called To the Ends of the Earth and Back Again. So because it is getting more and more complicated as I go along in this book, I wanted to show you that I've prepared a dedicated space in my kitchen. This is on my kitchen island, and I'm just going to view up to show you. This is a little view of my kitchen, and yeah, I do have old school kitchen cabinets because I live in a cabin and I love these cupboards, and so that's the way they look and that's how they're going to stay. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So this, I'm just going to back up a little bit, see, is my kitchen island. And I'm also going to give you a view of my stools before we get started here. These two stools were plain when I got them. Another form of artwork that I do is called dot painting. And usually I'm always painting mandalas. So what I do is any surface that I want to paint on using this technique, I color the background all black. And then I come over top with acrylic paints using, sorry for my creaky floors, using acrylic paints and these tools that have a flat end on them. And there's no set pattern. I literally start with a dot in the middle of the grid, I guess you could speak, in the middle of the, sorry about that. I start in the middle of wherever I want to create a mandala, and I just put a dot and then I just start working around, and whatever sort of evolves, that's what I go with. I might have a plan in the back of my mind about the color scheme. Otherwise, I just let it sort of flow. And here's another, on the other stool, I did just one big mandala. Again, really the basics is you start with the center dot and then work around until you complete it. Yeah. So I'm really quite proud of these little stools and how they turn out. They're quite a showpiece when people come in to visit me, and this is where I have them sit and we have our coffee here at this counter. So anyway, let me get set up with my camera base. I'm going to move some things over, and then I'll be able to show you overhead. All right, see you in a moment. And here we are with the overhead view. Before I get into this coloring book, just to talk about, just quickly, the mandalas that I was showing you in the before I set up for the overhead. I wanted to show you in a little bit more of a closer up view what it's like to do dot painting. I like to find stones that are smooth and sometimes flat, and they're fun to paint on as well. So eventually I'll show you all of the things around my house. I tend to paint a lot of mandalas on things, and so in the previous shot, you saw the two stools that I had dot painted mandalas on. And so this is a rock that I've also painted on. This was in the summer of 2021, I painted this. And I left the underside of the stone because it's such a beautiful stone to begin with. And then just to kind of show the transition of what it looks like after I painted it black. And these are the tools that I use to color the mandalas. So with acrylic paint, if I had them all set up in front of me, I usually have little wells of the paint, and the tools are basically little acrylic tools that are like dowels, and they're flat on one end, and you basically just would dip into the paint, and then you come in and make a single dot. And it is labor intensive for sure, but I really love doing it. This is a stylus, and so there's like a ball at one end and a smaller one at the other end, and this helps to create the really tiny dots that you can see here. So it'd come in, dip in the paint, make a dot, dip in the paint, make a dot, dip in the paint, make a dot. And that is how the mandala pattern unfolds. It's really just out of my head. That's why each mandala that I paint looks completely different from each other. And yeah, so that's another art form that I like to do when I'm not doing coloring in coloring books. Let me just put those tools aside. Excuse me. So as I color in here, I'm just going to do like a little bit of a chat as I color along here. And what I'm working on are the water elements. And according to my little planning page, I always make reference to the notes that I've made from the previous pages so that I can keep as closely as possible to the same color palette on each page as I move along. So for water, I've got Bondi Blue and Cyan as my two water, the color palette for the water that I use on this page. So I'm just gonna look and see, I'm just gonna move this over here. So there's a fish coming out of the page over here. It's a fish ornament, like a fountain. And so it's spraying some water out of here. So the water that's sort of splashing out, I like to keep some bits of it white and other bits of it will be blue. So I'm just gonna go ahead and come in with my Bondi Blue color. And I'm gonna, oh look, it broke. Broke it right off the bat. If that was my Prismacolor, I'd be swearing and I'd have to go beep and then make a new clip. My Prismacolor Premier color pencils, I mean, I do use them, but they cost me a fortune. And like, no word of a lie, when you go to buy them here in Canada, they're under lock and key. At Michael's, they're wired up. Like if you wanted to buy a set of, what is my set? I think 150. And I had to save up money for like 2 months so I could buy that set of colored pencils. And yeah, they're under lock and key. You have to go and ask, for help, and the attendant, and then they have to unlock it and pull out the set and then go to the counter and pay for it. So my set, I paid $188 Canadian for my Prismacolors. And yeah, and I love them, but when it breaks, it's very, I don't know, it does something in my brain where I go a little bit crazy and I just curse and swear because they're so expensive, right? You don't want them to be breaking when you're trying to color and sharpen. And so anyway, I didn't get upset when this color broke because these are more of a budget, budget-friendly set of colored pencils. And this is from a set of 300. So yeah, I'm not quite so precious about, and I'm sorry, I can't remember how much I paid for them, but certainly not as much as I paid for the Prismacolor Premier pencils. And so when these break, yeah, I don't get quite as upset, and I'm not quite so precious about them. So anyway, just a little blurb about the different colored pencil sets that I have. I don't have a ton. I do have Crayolas, and I like those. And of course, those are very budget friendly. So then my Color colored pencil set, and I'm just trying to decide here how much of the splashing water I want to be blue. Yeah, and I think that's it. Those are the three main sets that I have: Color, Crayola, and Prismacolor Premier. Oh, and I have a set of Prismacolor Scholar as well. And those are the student grade Prismacolor brand. So what I'm just doing here is just very lightly going in and doing the color blocking, because I need to define in my mind where the water elements are and where the water meets the ground. And I know that sounds silly, but when this is all in black and white, this is such a busy, intricate page that it's hard to tell what's what until you go right in and decide what color you're going to use. So I always start out with a very light blue for the water, very light green for the grass and the ground, and then just keep going through here. I'm just going to check to see if I'm still in the frame as I'm talking. Yeah, I'm just going to move it over here. So I've color blocked some green. So there's no real dimension to it yet. It's just a light base color is what I'm doing right now. And so I'm going to come back over here a little bit. So I've done a little bit of this, what looks like it's the forming of a river, right? So we've got our fish fountain, spraying out some water here. I'm going to leave some of it white, and the rest that I want blue, I just very lightly and quickly came in and colored that blue. There is a crocodile with a hippopotamus head here. He looks kind of like a bridge going across this river. So I've already colored him a light green, not him, but the ground that he's sitting on, a light green color. Just to give the idea that it is a bridge, so this water is coming underneath. So I'm going to keep coloring this part blue. And some of it's not, I just have to go with what it might look like for spaces of blue water shining through. And with an intricate page, sometimes you just have to just make a decision. If you're not sure what it is that you're seeing, just color it. And when you do it lightly, if you make a mistake or change your mind, you can always come back and erase colored pencil. So that's kind of nice, right? You don't ever have to be too precious about that. Part of this coloring book, I do use my water-based markers, because that helps me with fine details, and it adds a little bit more interest with the different color palettes. So just quickly over here where these totem poles are, I'm going to color them with the same color palette. I just mix up, how I will color each one, but after these 3 totem poles are done, they're really just going to be the same color palette. And I'm going to use my Heath-Thrown watercolor markers. I really like these because I have 120 in this set. They've got a brush tip on one side and the fine point at the other. And that fine point really helps when I need to get into these very tiny details later on. Okay, I'll just put those aside and I'm just going to check to see that I still have everything framed up properly here. Okay, so I'm just going to keep coloring my blue water. I wanted to point out, if you're noticing, that my left hand here is very swollen. So by comparison, let me just hold my hands together. You can see as I make a fist on this side, I have knuckles, but on this side it's so swollen. Okay, what happened is I got stung by a wasp 3 days ago already. And it stung, this is where the sting went in. And I have to show you something. A couple of years ago, when I had a real big wasp problem here in Alberta, the weather conditions were very dry, so wasps and hornets were just terrible. I was taking down nests all over my property. And in light of that, because I got stung multiple times that year, I decided to get this bug bite thing. And that's what it's called, the bug bite thing. And it's basically just an extraction apparatus. And so when I got this sting this year, I thought, oh, am I going to be really allergic now due to all those multiple stings that I got, a couple years ago? So I wasn't sure how I was going to react, to this sting. But anyway, I grabbed this right away, and what it does is you hold it over where the bite is, and you literally just pull on the extracting thing. I'm not going to do it right now because my hand's swollen, and I already did this already. So anyway, the idea is you make a suction, pull on the plunger, and it pulls out the venom of the bite. So I was thinking this would probably work wonderfully if I get a spider bite, and of course the wasp bite, and any other kind of different bites that I tend to get. As soon as you can pull out the venom, then your bite will heal faster and better. So even though my hand is very swollen, normally where this bite, or rather not a bite, this was a sting because this was a wasp sting. Normally this would have blistered and just turned really ugly and awful. It did not blister. And I believe it's because I, was able to suck that poison out before it could go through that process. So it didn't change. The sting just kind of stayed looking like that. So yes, my hand did swell up, but it's a much better healing process than if I wasn't able to pull that venom out as quickly as I did. And I used essential oils like lavender and frankincense to make sure that it helps keep the itch down and the infection at bay as well. So with the swelling, I had iced my hand all morning. It looks like I need to ice it again and help take that swelling down. But, really, I'm on the mend. I'm really on the mend. And obviously not horribly allergic. I was watching very carefully to make sure if the swelling had gone up my arm, or if maybe redness in the veins had started to, creep up my arm, I would have probably jumped in my truck and drove to the hospital to make sure, because I don't know, right? Like sometimes you don't know if your throat's going to swell up or close up on you and pass out or something like that. But didn't have to worry. It's all staying right here in my hand, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to keep icing it when it gets when it starts to throb and hurt because of the swelling. So anyway, that's my little wasp story. And later on in the day, I was, because I live lakeside, I have this little pedal boat. And I was thinking, what the heck is going on? Every time I go by there's these horrifying hornets that have been flying around. And yep, you guessed it, there is a huge nest that they built underneath, like the underside of my paddle boat. And oh my gosh, I was terrified because they're scarier than even the wasps are. They're bigger and more aggressive. They're very fast. Like if they're going to fly at you, they're very, very fast. So I thought, oh no, now I have to go and take care of a hornet's nest. And I did. I had no choice but to spray it down with, that Raid stuff and just to get them to dissipate. And then I came back in with a shovel and knocked the nest right off of the boat. And I think I'm doing okay with that. So it had to be done in the perimeter of my home and my yard. I have to be careful of these aggressive insects because they're just very scary to me. And getting stung or bit or whatever, yeah, it's a big deal. Okay, I'm just gonna move this over a little bit more over here. I started in with this water element over here, but I'm just gonna come in and darken it a little bit. And I'm leaving parts of the waves white, and I will probably come back in later with a like a sparkly white or a glitter gel pen, just to make it look like it's, water swirling and flowing or waves and so on. And wherever there's these little circles and dots, I'm just coloring over top of it because it's, you know, it's too hard to go around. But wherever there's an image, here's a steering wheel, I'm just going around that steering wheel. And any fish that, you know, their heads pop up, I'll go around them as well. But if I make a mistake and go over top of the line, it's not a big deal because colored pencil is easy to remedy when you make a mistake or change your mind about something. Colored pencil, you can always erase, get a basic eraser and erase anything that you've changed your mind about. But once I get everything all colored in, anywhere I may have colored over the lines, it's not going to show. Once I put other colors to add dimension and interest and so on. So speaking, you know, of intricate coloring books like this, I really want to mention that I subscribe to another channel. This gal, her channel name is SuperRaeDizzle. I think I have that correct. I'm going to link the video that I saw. Her latest video that she came out with, she talks about the craziest coloring books that she has recently purchased. I highly recommend watching her video. I thought maybe she was going to talk about this particular coloring book, but no, she talked about 3 or 4 other coloring books that I'd never heard of. And she's got a really good sense of humor. She's got a wonderful editing style for her videos as well. But no, she features the tiniest coloring book. She found I bet you it's no bigger than her, you know, than your thumb, this little tiny coloring book. I think she found it off of Etsy. And then to color in it, she found the smallest set of Crayola crayons. They're like tiny, they're like the size of little toothpicks. And so she colors in the little tiny coloring book with the little tiny crayons. It's a hoot. Like, I'm serious, you gotta go watch that video. It is so funny and so interesting. Another coloring book that she bought is a vintage one, a coloring book from 1914. And I think she paid something like, I don't know, $230, something like that for this book. So she shows that coloring book. And what was the other one that she showed? I think it's a coloring book called Doodle Chaos. And that one's hilarious because she films herself coloring a whole page in it. She's so funny. Because she just looked exasperated after she was finished coloring that. So anyway, just a little shout out to that channel. I get such a kick out of her artwork. She doesn't always do coloring books. It just so happened that she was featuring a video like that. She does a lot of work with, you know, a lot of her own illustrations where she uses watercolor and I believe like Copic markers and things like that. So that's kind of her specialty area. But every once in a while, she'll come out with a video really featuring something really funny or interesting, crazy TikTok videos, things like that. So anyway, SuperRaeDizzle. And that's to find her. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to do today. It was just a little simple chat and color. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you don't mind that I was showing some other artwork like the dot painting mandalas that I do, because I probably will have other videos that show that. And my hand is starting to hurt, so I think, yeah, I need to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.